You're welcome once again to my channel African Tales by Dorothy. If you are here for the very first time, kindly subscribe and join my community. I'll be very glad to see you here always. To my returning subscribers, I appreciate you all a lot. Today's story is titled The Maid, Her Son and the Ungrateful Madam. Blessing, a hard-working woman from Biu village, lived in Lagos as a housemaid to the rich Ibrahim's family. Her son Namdi, a very bright young man, was also living with her. Madam Ibrahim was Blessing's boss. She was a very proud woman and lived in a sprawling mansion in Lekki. Her world revolved around designer labels, attending parties, and maintaining her elite lifestyle. She was the second wife of Chief Ibrahim. Oftentimes, she treated Blessing, her maid, with contempt and saw her as a very low-class person. Despite Madam Ibrahim's attitude towards Blessing, she continued to give her best to her job as a maid. One day, at the church where Blessing attended, the pastor called Blessing into his office and told her that her son Namdi was a beneficiary of the ongoing scholarship scheme in the church, and the scholarship was for a private university. The criteria was that Namdi, Blessing's son, should pass his examination at the first attempt. Blessing asked who the sponsor was, but the pastor refused to disclose who paid the school fees. Namdi studied hard and was granted admission into a private university. Blessing was ecstatic. Her world seemed to be filled with an unexpected burst of sunshine. Unknown to her, her joy was about to be clouded by a storm. One day, Aisha, Madam Ibrahim's daughter, who was in her first year at the university, returned home from school very puzzled. She could not believe what she saw. Their maid's son was in the same school with her. Aisha went straight to her mother and told her what she witnessed at school. Her mother, Madam Ibrahim, was very shocked. How did her maid's son afford the high school fees? She asked her daughter, but the daughter couldn't provide the answer. Madam Ibrahim, Blessing's boss, was very infuriated upon hearing the news. With anger, she summoned Blessing to her presence. Blessing, what kind of action is this? How can your son attend the same university as my daughter Aisha? Where did you get the money from to even pay the school fees? So you have been stealing from me? Madam Ibrahim thundered, her voice laced with contempt. Blessing's heart sank. She had never imagined that her son's success would be met with such hostility. With trembling lips, she replied, Madam, it's God that made a way for my son, and I'm grateful to God for the opportunity. God? Madam Ibrahim said, which God? It's an insult for you to allow your son to attend the same school with my daughter Aisha. So it's not God that did it. You should withdraw him immediately. I cannot have my daughter associating with the likes of your son. Blessing's eyes welled up with tears. The pain was almost unbearable. She pleaded with her madam, but it was futile. Madam Ibrahim was adamant. 2 days later, determined to ensure that she meant what she threatened, Madam Ibrahim stormed into the office of the university's registrar. Her face red with rage. I demand to see the person in charge here, she barked. The secretary led her to the office of the registrar. The registrar, a calm and collected man, looked up and said, "Sit down, ma'am. How can I help you?" "It's about that boy, the son of my maid, Namdi Nwuchiku. I just found out he's been admitted to this university." "How can that be?" Madam Ibrahim frowned. The registrar asked for Nnamdi's department and then checked his records. Yes, Nnamdi was admitted on merit. He's a bright young man. But how can that be? A maid's son to attend the same school as my daughter Aisha? It's unacceptable, Madam Ibrahim insisted. "I'm afraid we can't withdraw Nnamdi's admission just because of his mother's occupation, ma'am," the registrar explained. "This is a university, not a personal playground. Every student who gains admission here has met the required standards. We cannot discriminate based on social status." Mrs. Ibrahim was stunned. She had never been challenged like this before. She stormed out of the office, defeated. A week later, Madam Ibrahim went back to the school very angry. She tried everything to get Namdi expelled, but the school refused. One day, as Blessing was cleaning the house, lost in her thoughts, Chief Ibrahim walked into the parlor, called her name, but she was absent-minded. "What's wrong with you, Blessing?" Chief asked her. Chief Ibrahim lived permanently with his first wife. He only visited his second wife, Madam Ibrahim, 3 times in a week. Blessing refused to tell Chief Ibrahim what was bothering her. Rather, she asked him if there was anything she could do for him. Chief told her to prepare a meal for him. That evening, Madam Ibrahim asked Blessing if she had withdrawn her son from the school as she has instructed her before. But Blessing replied that she had not. "You will have to leave my house," she yelled at Blessing, her maid. Chief, who was in the living room, overheard the second wife shouting at her maid. He came out to find out what happened, and his wife told him and said that her husband must change their daughter's school and send her abroad, as her maid's son can't attend the same school with their daughter. "What's wrong about your child attending the same school with your maid's child?" Chief asked his wife. "It's not a good thing, Chief. People will gossip about it. What's your business with what people will say compared to giving a maid's son a great opportunity in life?" "I can't allow it, Chief," Madam Ibrahim answered. "Then that's your business. But if that boy is withdrawn from that school, I will personally take it up with you," Chief Ibrahim told his wife and left. Madam Ibrahim's bitterness towards Blessing grew with each passing day. One morning, in a fit of rage, Madam Ibrahim accused Blessing of theft. Blessing at first pleaded with her madam and denied the accusation, but her boss refused to change her mind. Then Blessing got angry and shouted at her madam, "You can accuse me of any other thing, but not stealing, ma'am. You can't tarnish my image. I've tried to respect and serve you, but here you are accusing me of something I didn't do. You don't deserve my respect anymore, ma'am. Enough is enough." Humiliated and heartbroken, Blessing realized she could no longer bear the attitude from her madam. With a heavy heart, she packed her belongings and left the mansion. Life outside the mansion was very different. Blessing moved into a modest apartment with her son and thereafter took up a job as a nanny. Despite the challenges, she was determined to provide Namdi, her son, with the best possible future. Namdi, meanwhile, thrived in the university. His intelligence and charisma made him a standout. He excelled academically and became involved in extracurricular activities. One evening, while unpacking her boxes, Blessing stumbled upon a leather-bound diary belonging to her late mother. She had never bothered to read the content of the diary over the years. Inside the diary, she found a letter addressed to her. It revealed a shocking truth. Blessing was the daughter of a wealthy businessman who had left inheritance for her because he didn't have any other child. The letter also contained details of how to locate a distant cousin. Blessing was confused. She was from a rich family, but she didn't know it all these years because she had never bothered to open the diary. Namdi advised his mother to seek legal counsel and also search for her cousin. The process of claiming her inheritance was tedious, but eventually she gained access to the funds. It was a life-changing windfall. The news was overwhelming. Blessing, who had lived a life of hardship, was now a very rich woman. She bought a property in a very lovely part of the city. Thereafter, Namdi, with his mother's support, pursued a master's degree abroad. On getting back to Nigeria after his master's degree, Namdi's intelligence made him to stand out in the world of technology. One day, Namdi's firm organized a charity gala event and Madam Ibrahim and Blessing's paths crossed once again. Blessing had attended the event with her son Namdi. During the event, Madam Ibrahim recognized her former maid immediately. Meanwhile, Aisha, Madam Ibrahim's daughter, was working for Namdi. How the tables were now turned was still a great mystery to Madam Ibrahim. While the event was going on, Madam Ibrahim looked around and saw Blessing. She approached Blessing with a mixture of guilt and admiration. Madam Ibrahim pleaded with Blessing to forgive her. Blessing accepted Madam Ibrahim's apology. She thereafter told Blessing how her husband's business had suffered from debt and gone through liquidation, which had made life to become frustrating for her, Madam Ibrahim. Blessing's encouraging words to her former boss and forgiveness offered a glimmer of hope to Madam Ibrahim, a woman who had once been very cruel to her. Now, what are the life lessons of this story? Number 1. Treating people with dignity, regardless of their social status, is essential and important. 2. Kindness, like ripples in a pond, can have far-reaching effects. 3. Ultimately, it is character, not background, that defines a person. We have come to the end of today's story. I hope that you gained value in the story and the life lessons. Please remember to like the story, comment and subscribe to my channel. Until my next video, stay uplifted.